This is the Infinite Receiving Podcast, helping conscious leaders tap into a wealth of abundance across all areas of your life and business. I'm Susie Ashworth, and I'll be sharing with you how you can upgrade your reality through quantum transformation, because you are ready for infinite receiving. Hello, you gorgeous human being. It is Susie Ashworth here, and you are listening to the Infinite Receiving Podcast. And I have got another really juicy conversation to have and share with you today. I am speaking with entrepreneur, creative director, blogger, speaker, and all-round superwoman, Julia Cameron. Julia, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Susie. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. Shall we just set the scene a little bit? Can you tell me, where are you in the world right now, and what are you most excited about?
So I am currently in London. I've recently moved back here after a 7-year hiatus where I was living in lots of different places, but mainly up in the countryside in Warwickshire. So I've just moved back to London. I'm in Hampstead, which is lovely. And what am I most excited about? Gosh, loads of things actually at the moment. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing in my career at the moment, which is all quite a new thing, which I'll get into. I'm excited about a new sobriety journey that I'm going on, and I'm just excited just about being really, really super creative at the moment. That's my main thing.
So talk to me about the sobriety. How long have you been sober for?
It's a very new journey, like literally like 2 weeks. But I mean, it is quite exciting because I'm just feeling obviously a lot better and really good at myself. Not that I was like, it was crazy, but I just have been having real intuitions to have major sort of detox in my life, and not use alcohol as sort of like a crutch when I'm going out, and just be able to like manage my impulses better, because I have severe ADHD, and I've recently detoxed from my medication from that as well. So it's just like a whole clearing out vibe I'm on right now. Yeah. I'm obviously feeling physically better, but mentally I'm feeling stronger because of it, which is exciting.
Well, this is my 6th week in the sober world. So
brilliant.
I am very new to this journey as well. Mm-hmm. And again, like you, I wasn't stopping because like I had an alcohol problem. However, what I was noticing is that I have been divorced for separated for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And I've been dating for the last 1.5 years. And what I was finding is that on dates, even if I didn't want to drink, I was drinking because I wanted to just lube up a bit. You know what I mean? I wanted it to feel just a little bit less awkward. And when I say it, I mean me. And when I became really aware of that, it no longer felt good. And also, I'd find myself in situations that I'm pretty sure if I hadn't just had 3 tequilas, 2 vodkas, and some kind of whatever chaser, probably wouldn't be in that situation. And I think that when you're 18, 19, 20, great. When you're 44, it's like maybe you want to like recapture a little bit of the old youth. And then it's like, how old am I? What am I doing? And actually, who am I being? What do I want to attract? And the person that I desire to be with feels super comfortable with me not drinking alcohol. They feel comfortable in themselves, and they still feel super comfortable with me. And if that's what I want, then I probably shouldn't be going out on dates and getting pissed. So whilst that wasn't the only motivation, it was definitely a big one. So that crutch thing, I really identify with.
God, you've literally just spoken the thoughts that have been in my head for like the last 2 months. Like for me, it was like moving back to London and having this sort of feeling of like, I need to be out all the time. I need to be meeting people, like for work, for career opportunities, for networking, for everything really, you know, and noticing that, you know, a lot of the times when I was in situations, everyone thinks I'm a super confident person, but I get socially quite anxious, and I have quite a nervous energy, which is probably an ADHD thing as well. And I definitely was using alcohol to sort of manage that, and I have done since I was very, very young. I've struggled with alcohol and drugs since I was like 14, to be honest, to manage my self-esteem, social anxiety, ADHD. I've always sort of self-medicated. So, but yeah, I just, you know, and I've kind of always been a bit of like a fuck it, like I'm a bit of a party girl. But the last 2 months, I just realised the amount of time, headspace it was taking up every day, just thinking about doing it, not doing it, how bad I felt after doing it. It was just like all the time. That's like all I could think about. And I was just like, this is not how I want to spend my time. Yeah. And like you said, it was like nothing like awful happened. Like, you know, I mean, I've had rock bottoms before in my life, but lately it wasn't like I was waking up in a dustbin or something. But it was just like, you know, like what I didn't need to stay out till 3 a.m. and, you know, might have been having fun at the time with a load of these people, but are they people I want to see again? Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. And I'm like, you know, that's just not the end. You know, I want to be attracting people when I'm in alignment, and not that anyone's bad or anything like that, but it's just, you know what I'm saying. I know that I'm not going to be the person I want to be, do the things I want to do, and get to where I want to be if I'm drinking. I just know it won't happen.
Yeah, it's so interesting because 14 is when I started drinking, and I've got a 12-year-old son, and he's now wanting to have those conversations about drinking and drugs and all of those things. And it's so interesting. Like, it's a part of me that is like, I do not want you to know anything that I was doing at that age, because the idea of my kids doing that, like, it freaks me out.
Yeah.
And I also know that it is part of the journey to self-discovery. And whilst I feel really at ease and at peace with where I am right now, knowing that there's still so much to go, I'm like, wow, it's a long 14. I'm now 44. It's a long time to be playing that game of not feeling quite confident enough to take and own a space. And I think it's interesting you said, like, everybody thinks that you are like wildly outgoing, and, you know, your job, you're in the creative industries. So I'm interested about how you got into the work that you do, and then how has that confidence piece played out, or lack of confidence, how does that play out in your work?
Well, I got into it, funny enough, in lockdown, which just, I guess I had that, everyone had that time and that space, and it was a bit like, I'd come out of quite a difficult situation with my ex-husband, which I'll get into, but yeah, I guess I really needed a creative outlet, and doing kind of comedy, which is what I'm doing now, really, and the main thing I'm doing is, I guess, something I just always did naturally, but I never really saw it as a talent. Like, my friends would always say I'm really funny and I'm really good at voices and accents and stuff, but when it's just who you are and what you do, like, you don't really necessarily recognise. I don't know, do you know what I mean by that? You just kind of just like, oh. So I started putting out the odd video in lockdown, and obviously people, like, it was all my friends that were just seeing them, they were like, haha, brilliant, funny. But I had always kind of wanted to do something like performative. I'd done bits of drama at school, and I'd done like a part-time acting course, but yeah, it just didn't really kick off until about a year later, and I started doing them a bit more consistently, and one of my videos went viral, which was like a sketch video I did about people that went to Ibiza. I don't know if you've seen that one, where I do like all different characters and stuff like that.
I don't think I saw the Ibiza. I saw the one with the amethyst crystal that was stuck on your forehead.
Yes, I think she's like my most popular character now. But yeah, it all kicked off from this Ibiza video, really. And I thought, oh wow, like, everyone's sharing it and saying it's good. So I guess I was like, oh, I must be all right. Maybe I should really focus on this. But before that, I wasn't taking it seriously at all, to be honest. Unfortunately, I did sort of need that validation to know that, oh, okay, maybe this is something I can focus on. I've forgotten how to my brain, ADHD. I've forgotten the other part of your question.
Okay, so let me be a better interviewer and not ask you too many questions all at the same time. I think that we can improve that skill set. But I'm curious, so what were you doing before lockdown?
So I got married when I was 27, And my ex was he was a life coach, he was a motivational speaker, he was an athlete. He used to do work with Tony Robbins, like a lot of big people, spoke on stage with, Jay Shetty. He was quite big at the time. And after we got married, we were very much working together. So I was helping him run his events, and we were running retreats in Thailand twice a year, like Muay Thai retreats. And we were living out in the countryside. And I guess was half a housewife, we had dogs, and I was helping him. I was traveling the world with him, doing a lot of support on that side. And basically what happened was he used to do a lot of charity, sports and stuff like that. And 2 years into our marriage, he was cycling for charity from the top of England to the bottom of England. And 2 days before the end of the thing, it was like an 8-day thing, he changed the route. And he was in the middle of nowhere in Devon. And unfortunately, he got run over in a hit and run by a sort of drunk, over the limit, uninsured driver. Wow. And he was literally left for dead on the side of the road. And luckily someone eventually, it was in the middle of nowhere, so it wasn't like there was lots of cars, it was sort of these sort of bumpy country roads. And someone drove up and they could see bits of cars scattered all over the road, and they stopped, and then they could hear some groaning or whatever. And so they eventually found him, and he'd luckily been thrown off his bike so far, he'd hit a tree which had saved his life from falling down the cliffside. And yeah, he was clearly meant to live, because this was in the papers quite a lot, actually, because it was quite a big story at the time. The first 3 cars that passed him in the middle of nowhere, the first was an off-duty policeman, secured the scene. The second was an off-duty paramedic. And the third was an off-duty lifeguard person who had oxygen in the back of the car. So it was sort of the angels came down, I guess.
I've got goosebumps. That's pretty wild.
It is wild, and I was 4 or 3.5 hours away back home towards Rugby, and I sort of got this call, and at first I sort of didn't really, you think, oh, he's fallen off his bike, he hurt his ankle or something, and they were like, no, you need to get down here right now, and I was like, oh, that's horrible. Anyway, so what happened was the police actually came to pick me up from the service station, and it was quite late in the evening, and they blue lighted me all the way down to go and say goodbye to him at 150 miles per hour in my car, which is quite scary in itself. So yeah, by the time I got down there, thank God he'd regained consciousness, and I was able to go in and see him. By the time I saw him, we'd had 8 operations already. Wow. He broke pretty much every bone in his body. He had lung trauma, heart trauma, bowel trauma, head trauma, the works. So I basically had to move down there while he was in intensive care. So that was in 2019, which I guess was just before lockdown, right? Because when did lockdown? Yeah,
it was before the pandemic. It was a year before. So March 2020 was lockdown. So you had you met him, or you married him when you were 27, and really your lives became very entwined. You were working, was it behind the scenes? Or
yeah. I mean, I did do some stuff, a little bit of stuff on the stage with him, but I was, helping run the events, organise the events, host the events. I guess I was sort of like the supportive wife role, really,
Yeah.
And yeah, so he had this accident, and that just really changed our whole lives, really. I had also at the time been doing an acting course in London, and unfortunately the big finale of the acting course, when I was due to perform for the agents, that was the day of the accident, so I couldn't go. I had to quit it all and give everything up. So basically, that one event, that 1 second that happened to him, rerouted my whole entire life into where I am now, which is no longer married and now living a whole different life in London.
So you wanted to be an actress.
I wanted to sort of dip my toe into that. I didn't know how it was going to look, but I knew that it was something I was good at and enjoyed.
But you met this man, you fell in love, you built a life and a business with him.
Yeah.
He fell off his bike, almost died, and then that shifted everything. So what happened after he fell off the bike?
Yeah, so I guess, he was in intensive care for... It was a few weeks in intensive care, I think. So I was moved down to Devon, and then he went back up to hospital in Coventry, which was near where we lived. And, my whole life was then just being his full-time carer for a good 6 months. He was in a wheelchair, everything. I literally had to do everything for him. And
how was that?
Sorry?
How was that?
I mean, you know, in a weird way, I had a lot of purpose, like, doing it. I think I was always doing, like, stuff for him, obviously, but I always had this sense of, like, I wasn't quite fulfilling my own creative stuff, but I just, within that container of that relationship, I just wasn't able to access it. But I guess that was just such an intense thing that I had to do. It kind of, like, just all my energy went into that, you know. And it wasn't just looking after him, it was trying to manage his business and, like, all these people that were interested in what was happening to him and what he was doing, because he had quite a big following at the time. And like, it was like a full-time job, basically, the whole thing. And, you know, getting the lawyers involved and, you know, figuring out what was going to do about this awful accident and the police. It was just a whole thing. Like, it was literally like a full-time job for like 6 months. And then he because he had such a strong mindset because of his, you know, Tony, you can imagine, like, Tony Robbins, motivational. He was very much like, I'm going to be back on my bike in 3 months, obviously not 3 months, but that was his mindset.
Yeah.
So within like a year, I think, maybe a year and a half, he was back, like, running and stuff. He's obviously never going to be physically as capable. His whole body's full of iron now. It's all the whole thing. But he never recovered mentally. You know, he was very much a different person, you know, and which is what people say a lot when they have near-death accidents. He was dealing with a lot of trauma, PTSD, sleep problems, depression, you name it. So it was really intense journey, not just for him, but for me as well, you know, because he ended up just not being the person that I married. So it kind of just, he ended up just wanting to live a very different life. And we really tried to make it work. I was very much in sickness and in health, you know, that's what you do. But, you know, at the end of the day, it was like he wanted to live in a different country. He wanted to do very different things. And, you know, I just came to a point where I was like, this isn't going to make either of us happy. So, yeah, we separated. And the funny thing, I say funny because people that know me think it's quite funny because it's so different, I guess, to my brand of person and energy. But he's now living in Thailand and he became a monk. So I'm currently married to a monk, which is pretty hilarious.
Wow.
It's like a real 360.
That's quite incredible.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how long into the accident did you, or not so much the accident, but how long after the accident did you start to feel like, I don't know whether I can do a lifetime like this?
I don't know. Like, to be honest, it wasn't actually till very close to the end that I've really considered it, because I just, you know, I really did think, like, this is just what you do. Like, shit's going to happen and you support your partner. And even if, like, you maybe don't feel like you're in love with them in the same way or this or that, like, you know, it's just very much that's what you do. Like, my parents are still together. But I don't know, like, it obviously I knew deep down that I wasn't happy, but I couldn't really admit it. And, you know, also he'd been through such a horrible trauma, like, you know, I just felt that I had to be there for him. But at the end of the day, like, there was just too many things where it was like, I realised that I wasn't able to get any support from him because he was so deep in his journey. And it was like, it just didn't feel like a partnership anymore, because when someone goes through something like that, they can't really give that much to you because they're just so trying to deal with their own shit, you know. So yeah, it wasn't actually really till the end. And also I was terrified to be single. I was terrified to be on my own, and like, I didn't know how to support myself financially fully. I didn't really have my own career or anything. I'd always done lots of different things, but I'd never built a career for myself. So a lot of it was fear as well, for sure. So,
are you still friends?
Yeah, I don't know if that you... we're not, unfortunately, no. I think, unfortunately, in the process of divorce, you know, things didn't go quite as smoothly as I'd hoped. And also he moved, like, literally to a different country halfway across the world. So, to be honest, I actually find it easier in some ways. Yeah. Like, I don't have like a horrible, there's no like hatred or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's kind of easier, I think, because it's just, I wish him well, and he's on a different path and a different journey, but we're so different now, you know. I don't really feel that I need to be attached to him.
Yeah. So you've been single for a year and a half. What are the biggest things that you have learned about yourself?
Oh God. Well, I have learned. That's what I learned. I am very resilient for sure. Like, there's some positive things I've taken from this, and you know, I have definitely like had like a good year and a half of being quite mental, like in the sense of just like, you know, like freedom, like, you know, when it finally happened, I was kind of like, my soul and my body knew it was ready to happen, because I was feeling excited about it, just from the perspective of going, right now, this is my time to do what I want to do and be who I want to be. And sometimes in life, like, I don't know if you found this, but you know, you need those things to push you to go and have to go and find your thing or do your thing, you know. So I don't know if I would be doing the comedy and the social media and all the other stuff I'm doing right now if I hadn't gone through that experience. In fact, I'm sure I wouldn't. So
1,000%. Sometimes life has to get deeply, deeply, deeply uncomfortable before we're willing to take the leap. And then I think that in a circumstance as extreme as yours, where you have literally looked death in the eye via your partner, it's a bit like, well, why not? Like, why not post the video on social media and just like, why not?
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I'm super curious about your brand of humor. So the thing that made me be like, oh, I really need to speak to this woman is the fact that your spiritual well-being character, I don't know what her name is, but it was just so classic. It was the observation was just so hilarious. And so are you in that world now? These the observations that you found from when you were in the kind of motivational scene circuit? Like, where does it come from?
Yeah, I mean, all my comedy is literally me, in the sense of like, I've always put myself in so many different situations, and I think that's one thing I really appreciate about having ADHD, is that I've always been quite boundaryless and just gone, yeah, I'll try that, I do everything, which has actually given me so much rich content for all my different characters, because I really do put myself in all sorts of crazy situations in life. But the spiritual stuff, yeah, I obviously my ex was a life coach, so I was more in that kind of life coachy, Tony Robbins kind of a world, which is sort of a different energy. Wasn't really for me. But then I guess after the accident happened, I'd always been really interested in plant medicines and ayahuasca and all this. And then the opportunity came up to go and do ayahuasca, and I was like, it just felt right. So I went to do it. I did it on my own. He didn't do it at that stage. And I went and had my first ceremony, and I guess that kind of kicked off my journey within plant medicines and that kind of space of spirituality. So I've been to a lot of different ceremonies and events, and I've done the Cambo, and I've done this, and I've done that. So it's all come from that, really. It's all come from those experiences, and a lot of it is like, you know, I don't know if you've seen, like, I get a lot of abuse from the spiritual community, which
Comments are like crazy. But what was interesting, and I think because I am very much in that world, and for me, even though your comedy is making fun of it, there's a warmth to it that doesn't feel attacking to me. And so therefore the kind of some of the vitriol and some of the misunderstanding that people have when they consume the content, I mean, I found that funny as well, but I was just like, there feels like it didn't feel attacking. It felt like you are, in order to be able to make those observations, you have to have seen it, been it, and at your most extreme days, like you say, is you. I found it very amusing. I mean, how do you deal with, what's your thoughts on the comments?
Well, the thing is, a lot of I am taking the piss out of myself in a lot of it, and also, you know, like, yeah, there are elements of stuff I've seen, but obviously it's exaggerated, it's satire, you know, it is for fun, and I really, people go, oh, how do you manage the comments? I do not mind the comments whatsoever. Like, I honestly don't get offended, because I know that my intention with the video is good and playful and fun. And so if anyone takes it any other way, that's on them. And also, like, I kind of feel like it's like, you know, shadow work. It's like, if you're getting triggered by this, maybe you need to have a look at your... I feel like I'm kind of healing people through it, like, in a weird way. And then people are like, maybe I need to look at myself if I'm finding this triggering. But it's like, guys, I'm just having a laugh. Joy is a high vibration and frequency. Like, get over it. Light work is lighten up. You know what I mean?
What? I mean, there's so much that's running through my mind at the moment. What is your intention? And this might be a silly question. Is it simply to make people laugh? Is it just, this feels like the most in alignment way for me to express myself? I'm just wondering, is there anything outside of, or not deeper, but outside of is there anything around the intention of the comedy outside of making people laugh?
I mean, like, for sure, the comedy is obviously a way of me expressing my the things I enjoy, and it brings together a lot of the things I like, which is writing and meeting people and getting ideas and then performing. So, like, in that sense, it's very fulfilling to me. But obviously, like, my intention is to make people laugh. Like, otherwise, you know, kind of what's the point? Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff I don't even know if it's funny myself. Like, I have no idea that I'm funny. Like, I have to send it to my friends to gauge if anything's funny, because by the time something's come into my head and I've written it down and I've done it, like, to me, it's not fun. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I kind of, you know, I have to sense check stuff. And I'm like, guys, is this fun? Like, is it fun? But I mean, yeah, it's really, yeah, to make people laugh, to have fun, to be silly. Like, I think as well, coming from situations I've come from, not just with my ex-husband, you know, I've dealt with a lot of trauma in childhood, and I've been bullied terribly. So there's definitely a side of just wanting to be free and silly in myself and inspire that in other people. Like, when I remember I used to see people, I'm trying to think of some examples. Like, do you know the presenter, Maya Jama?
Yeah.
Yeah, she does Love Island and stuff. I remember I used to watch her, and it was like when I was years ago, and I wasn't feeling confident at all. And I used to watch her and just be like, God, I wish I could be as free as her, you know, because she just always came across like she was super free and fun and silly. And I knew that's kind of what I was like, but I just couldn't express it, like, publicly. And so I guess, yeah, for me, it's like a bit of a free, like, breaking of boundaries kind of thing, and just being able to, like, just fully be myself and not care so much about what people think of me, because I've grown up most of my life caring a lot because of being bullied and having low self-esteem, blah, blah, blah. So that's definitely, like, another side to it.
Was there a specific point where you stopped caring?
I mean, I care in the sense, like, I want it to be like funny. Like, I don't want to put stuff out that's completely irrelevant and stuff like that. But I'm quite used to just making a tit out of myself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of like, I don't know, like, I don't really care. Like, people must think I'm silly and stupid and embarrassing, but I've always done really weird things that aren't normal, even, like, as a child. Like, I guess maybe this is from being on the spectrum slightly, but I always used to do crazy stuff, like, in the name of entertaining other people. And so I've kind of just got used to it. Like, I don't know why, maybe it's an ADHD thing, but I would always do really weird stuff. Like, at school, I'd be like, do you dare me to do this? And it'd be something really weird and disgusting, but just, like, I guess for attention, but also just, I don't know, my brain works in a different way.
Was that kind of out there-ness, being a bit weird, not part of the norm, is that part of what contributed to you being bullied, or was that something separate? I think so. I was always very different. I didn't really know what was wrong with me, but I was definitely, a lot of the bullying actually when I was younger was to do with how I looked. Like, it was like, because I was, like, quite a little bit chubby and not, you know, maybe not most attractive, whatever, between the ages of 8 to 12. I don't know, you know what kids are like. I had mousy hair and glasses and whatever. A lot of it was to do with, like, how I looked, and people would always call me weird and fat and ugly and stuff like that. So I think I've lost my train of thought now, but yeah, I guess that's definitely, like, contributed to it in different ways. So you have to realign me now what I was saying. I was just asking, like, the bullying part, and because you said that there's this sense of just wanting to be silly and free. And, you know, you observe that in Maya. And I'm curious about, you know, because you'd mentioned you'd been bullied when you were a kid. And I think that it's interesting that you're able, because you do get, there are some quite negative Nancy's in the comment thread. And I'm curious about at what point in your life did it no longer impact you as much when people would have opinions, you know?
I mean, I guess it's only really been relevant to me more recently because I'm putting stuff out there publicly. And, you know, I mean, people have always said negative stuff about me because I have always been a bit different. But yeah, I can't tell you a specific point. And actually, you know, there are times, especially when I've been drinking, where I do get anxious about, oh God, have I said something, or what have I said, or what this person must think of me. So it's not like I'm immune to it. But I think within my performing stuff, I am more immune to it because I guess there's also that sense of I'm playing a character, which kind of slightly takes it away from ultimately completely me. So it makes it easier. But like I said, like for me, everything's intention, you know, and it's like I know that I'm not doing anything to try and upset anyone. I know that my intention is joy and fun and playful. So, and I'm not doing it from a bad place. And I'm not, yes, I'm taking the piss out of people, but like it is like in a fun, loving way. And most of the people who I've met at these, like, for example, the spiritual ones and the ceremonies, like they share it, they love it, they see the humor in it. You know, most people do, so.
Well, can you share your creative process? How do you come up with the skits and the sketches and the characters?
Oh gosh, like so just all over. My brain is so scattered, but I just like from just situations in life. Really, I did the spiritual ones. I started them quite a while ago, but I only just defined it into this one character, Aurora, recently, and people have really seemed to have resonated with that. But I don't know, like I'm all over the place. I'm just getting ideas, or I'll overhear something someone says in a bar or anywhere, or friends, and I'll just write it down. So I've got like the most ridiculous lists of notes in my phone, and then I go back through them, and then I try and sort of put them into their different concepts, and then I mean, I've probably got about 50 sketches that haven't even been made, you know, like I've got so many different ones. I do struggle to execute doing them, like I do struggle, but like I've got just so many different characters. Like there's one I'm going to film later about a sort of kind of based on my life, but it's kind of obviously exaggerated. It's like this posh woman who's just got divorced and moved back to London, but she's now on a budget. So that's one fun character I'm doing later. Just life, really, you know, like content just creates itself. I mean, start doing content about the fact that I'm married to a monk, but like, ridiculous things are always happening to me. So,
what's the dream when it comes to comedy? Where would you like to see it go?
Gosh, I mean, I always wanted when I was a kid to do sketch, like to be in a sketch show. Like I used to love. Do you remember Smack the Pony?
I was not that into Smack the Pony, but I do. I know the concepts. I know the things. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I used to watch that, and I must have been I think I was probably like 13 at the time, but I did used to love that. And then at school, I'd always put on little sketch shows and things like that. So it's quite funny now because I've got old school friends who like seeing what I'm doing. They're like, I remember you used to do that at school.
Of course.
Yeah. So I guess like I would love to be in a TV sketch show of some description, or playing lots of different characters. Like I love Catherine Tate, I love Chris Lilly, obviously, like Ricky Gervais. Who else? Like Daisy, I'm forgetting her last name now. The girl that's in the This Country and does she's brilliant.
Is she American?
No, she's English actually. Daisy May Cooper, if you know her, she's brilliant. But yeah, I just like enjoy playing lots of different characters. I guess that would be the dream within the comedy for sure.
Are you intentional when it comes to, so that would be the dream. Do you meditate on it? Like, are you like, or are you just seeing, let me just see what happens? I
am into like the law of attraction, and I do feel that I'm good at manifesting. But I guess because this is such a new journey for me and I'm dipping my toe into lots of things, I'm still in that sort of like, the creating of exactly what it is I need or I want. But I totally am into manifestation, and again, that's another thing with the sobriety is like, you know, the times when I'm best at manifesting is when I'm in a healthier, more aligned place. And I find that the most important part of the manifestation process is the surrender part. And I just feel that's so much easier when you feel better in your mind and body, you know, because you don't feel this like need to need something. Do you know what I mean?
You can trust yourself, and
you just feel good in yourself.
Yeah, I completely
just trust. Like, I mean, I have a tattoo on here which kind of says the wrong thing now, I've realised, but it says it's on its way, because I feel like it's just, if you trust that everything's on its way, then you don't have to feel that energy of lack, or that it's, you know, but really what it should say is it's already here.
Yeah, it's already done. Yeah, I hear you.
It's already done, but you know, it's a similar energy.
Yeah. So are you able to monetize your comedy yet?
I have, yeah, I am actually, which has been brilliant. I have a contract with a couple of brands where I'm actually creating sketches for them.
Amazing.
I'm doing more stuff. Yeah, it's really exciting. So I've started doing that and working with other brands and doing more like UGC content, which is more, I guess, on the acting side, where I'm creating content for people to share on their platforms, not necessarily on mine. I've always done voiceover work, so I'm always doing bits and bobs of that. I'm trying to get an agent at the moment now that I moved back to London. So voiceover stuff is something I love to do. I'm learning how to DJ as well, because I absolutely love music. So I'm just, you know, doing lots of fun different things.
It feels like a whole new world. I'm curious, does the comedy also support your jewellery designing?
So, well, it's interesting because I kind of the jewellery I've had for years, and it's kind of gone through little peaks and troughs. And I kind of, when I moved to London and I was, you know, just focusing on, you know, restarting my life, basically, I kind of put it to the side, and I'm just bringing it in again. And I do these sort of intention necklaces, what I call them. So I have one which is like an 1111 necklace. Which is, I don't know if you're into numbers, but you know, like 1111 is like an angel number, an awakening code, all that kind of thing. And then I have a twin flame one, which is like that. I don't know if you've seen that. And I have an affirmation one, which is just like a symbol which incorporates I am into it, just to help us all remember to do our affirmations. So yeah, it's just something that's kind of bringing it all back in together now. But I guess because of my spiritual comedy, I've got a lot more followers who would probably be kind of interested in that kind of you know, in that aesthetic of jewellery. So yeah, as soon as I got it back all together, I'm definitely going to do a bit of a launch with that again. But incredible. So yeah, I maybe there's a way that I can do a comedy sketch of Aurora, like, I don't know, with the jewellery, maybe, I guess, in that sense. I'm not quite sure how else.
So it sounds like actually spirituality has been a part of your life for, is it always, but certainly, if not always, a significant period of time?
Yeah, I've definitely always been a bit spiritual, and I've always been interested in like angels, and even as a child I had experiences where I felt I'd spoken to angels or had experiences with like higher beings and things. And then I got into the law of attraction more so in my early 20s. But yeah, I've always had a kind of sense of, I don't know, like an otherness kind of a vibe. Like when I've been in really bad places in my life. I even remember in my early 20s, like I was really in a low place physically with drugs and having a terrible time, and wasn't talking to my family, and you know, I really hit rock bottom. You know, when I hit rock bottom, I just really remember just like talking to the universe, you know, like asking for help, and having a sense that there was this sense that I've always known that I'm on a journey, you know, like even with my divorce and other like traumas I've been through, like I've always been very kind of I've just always known that that's just part of my spiritual journey, and the contrast is here for a reason, and like, you know, it's just a chapter, it's not the whole book. So I guess that's why I'm probably quite good at moving on from things quite quickly, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, I guess. Yeah.
It's funny because every time you speak, I feel like there's a million things that I could ask you questions on, because the life that you have lived is so full. But I'm curious, when you were at the low point with the drugs, what were you trying to escape from, or what were you trying to avoid?
Yeah, I would say, again, like, I don't want to keep going on about it, but I think I was only recently diagnosed with ADHD, as was my sister and my mum, which has made a lot of sense for how I behave the way I have in life. But I didn't know that I had that. I just thought I was stupid because I just couldn't cope with various things that other people found a lot easier to deal with. And I just constantly was getting myself into bad situations. I was super impulsive. I couldn't hold down a job ever. And I think the main reason I was using drugs was for my anxiety and for my self-esteem, really. And, I remember I started getting into the drugs really just for confidence, because I couldn't go out and just talk to people, I literally couldn't go out unless I was inebriated. And that was my method to be able to become this confident social person that I wanted to be. So that's really how it started, I guess. So yeah, I guess escaping from feeling shit about myself.
How do you think life would have been different if you'd have known about the ADHD earlier on?
I think it would have been very different, because I think obviously I may have had the tools and tried the medication, maybe that would have served me or not. I've decided it's not going to serve me moving forward. But yeah, I think it would have served me, because it would have helped me understand my extreme behaviours, which I just couldn't understand, why I was the way I was. I was so much more extreme than everyone else. I was just so much more impulsive than anyone else. I didn't know how to say no. I had zero boundaries. And, I'm sure some of those things are to do with traumas I've had in my upbringing, but for sure, I just couldn't understand why. And even other people were like, wow, Jules is really crazy, but I just had no idea why. I just thought there was something wrong with me, and that obviously then makes your self-esteem even worse, because you're just going, well, I'm stupid because I can't do this, or, but at least if I'd have had that framework of ADHD, I would have gone, well, actually, I'm not stupid, and actually I can be really good at certain things, but there's just other things that I need help with managing, So I do think it would have helped me a lot, yeah.
And your mum got diagnosed with it, and your sister?
Yeah, I mean, my mum hasn't really had the diagnosis, but my sister has, and my sister's been using medication. It's helped her a lot. My mum, we just know, I believe it's a genetic thing, but with my mum, she kind of feels like we grew up just wondering, a very chaotic household, and bless my mum, she has such severe ADHD. I mean, she forgets to pick us up from school every day. She's losing the keys 10 times a day. It was intense. But, and that I feel guilty about, because I was horrible to my mum. I thought she was a bad mum, but she's not at all. She's a superwoman. But again, we just didn't understand about it, And yeah, her behaviour is as extreme, if not more, than me and my sister. So yeah, I mean, it's really great that people are talking about it now, and understanding it better. But someone said to me the other day, it's they shouldn't call it ADHD, they should call it dopamine deficiency disorder, but apparently that's taken. But that makes a lot of sense, because the consistent need for connection, dopamine, drugs, alcohol, everything has to be dopamine based, in my life, otherwise I can't do it. So that makes a lot of sense, which apparently is a fact, is that people with ADHD do have low dopamine.
That's so interesting. I hadn't heard that. There's a question mark about whether one of my kids has it or not. And actually, the more I hear, the more inclined I feel actually it's important to do the testing. So this is super interesting. And I think that also it makes sense with the drugs and the alcohol, the dopamine piece, and also the desire to you can flip that. So I know that I need to be living a life where my dopamine is activated. So what are the things that are going to serve me versus just anything that is presented to me? And I think that that's quite an exquisite recipe for living an extraordinary life, because we talk about doing things that bring us joy, doing things that bring us pleasure. And actually, I think that when you have that lens that this needs to give me pleasure and also be good for me now and later, you start to create a life that's really quite magical. I'm curious, what role has plant medicine played in your self-development and self-awareness journey?
So it's such an intense thing, but I definitely, it's one of those things where for me, not necessarily within the ceremonies itself, I would have got a lot of clarity about something specific, but it's like 6 months later I look back and go, wow, that's changed, well, that relationship's changed. So in that sense, for me, I think the most prominent when I first started doing it was, they call ayahuasca the mother plant. So it's very much a sort of feminine energy and healing for that side of things. And for sure, my relationship with my mum improved drastically after doing it. I just looked back and I was like, wow, I feel very differently about my mum since doing ayahuasca. So like it definitely helped in that sense. And they say also that plants really do help to open up your gifts creatively, or your creative gifts. So I do believe that I probably wouldn't be doing the comedy maybe if I hadn't done the plant medicine, because I definitely feel like it's cleared some stuff in that aspect, for me to fully align and come out of my shell. So yeah, in that sense, I think it has been really powerful, and I've made some beautiful connections with people at these things, and I've got some great content for my comedy.
Have you got more ceremonies? Do you still feel the pull to work with plants? Will you still continue to do ceremonies, or do you feel complete right now?
I think I'll ever feel complete, but I don't feel the need right now to go and do more plant medicines. The last time I do like work with mushrooms occasionally, and I do find them helpful, especially for my ADHD, like microdosing. I've last did plant medicine in January of this year. I did Kambo, I did Sananga, and I did Hape, which was like the most intense one I've ever done of all the ceremonies I've done. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's the frog poison, and that for me was much more of a physical detox kind of thing that I felt I needed to do. And that, I do know I might do that again. But yeah, at the moment I don't feel this great call. Like, I've done so much work on myself, and I do think that we all need to like have that integration time. Like we kind of all know what we need to do in a sense, and sometimes life just needs to get us there on maybe a slightly different route. But I don't feel like I need to do another ceremony right now. No.
Right, I have got some questions that I ask everybody to round us up in celebration of the Infinite Receiving book. And so my first question to you is, what does infinite receiving mean to you?
Infinite receiving, I guess, just means just being fully open to what life has to offer, and being receptive to abundance, and just kind of boundaryless in that sense, and just being in alignment, really.
I love that. Are you good at it? Are you a good infinite receiver?
I'm getting better. I'm definitely getting better. Again, I feel like the healthier I am in mind, body and spirit, like the easier that side of life is for me. But it's definitely a process. It's definitely a process of worthiness and deserving, which has been a journey for sure.
We're all on it. We're all on that path. Where or who in your life right now can you allow to love you some more?
Where or who? I think just being kinder to myself, and I'm extremely hard on myself. So I think just learning to be okay with where I am and who I am, and not constantly striving for the next thing, and just being more appreciative of how far I've come, and noticing that. more. I think that's that. Yeah, I think that part.
What is your greatest attribute?
Ooh, gosh. I think my greatest attribute is like finding lols in whatever I do, like making difficult situations funny and making light of them. I feel like that's a good attribute.
It is. What thing are you consciously working on manifesting right now?
What am I consciously manifesting? For me at the moment, it's just prime health, really. Because once I've got that, I feel like everything else is going to be easy. So it's just getting myself mentally strong so that I can be fully in control of, like, you know, my impulses and just putting myself first and my body first. And yeah, just want to get back to be feeling super fit, super strong and clear of mind. And then once you've got those things, I feel like everything else is just so much easier.
100%. And finally, where can you allow yourself to be supported a little bit more in your life right now?
Where do you mean, like in what aspect? Like within love or money or what?
Anywhere, actually. But as love was the first thing that came to mind, where could you be more supported in allowing more love right now?
Maybe in like love. I mean, I'm not really started like dating or anything yet, but maybe in that aspect, I guess. Probably something I want to start thinking about.
Well, maybe we need to speed dial Persia.
Exactly. Well, I spent a lot of time with Persia since I was separated, which has been lovely. I'm actually going to do a podcast with her. Actually, that's something else I'm doing. I'm starting a podcast, my own podcast, and it's called Eat, Pray, Lols. So that's something I'm going to focus on.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that a lot. And for anybody who's like, who's Persia? Persia Lawson, who is a love and dating and relationship coach for millennials, and actually anybody who is interested in love, dating and relationship. She is incredible. Well, I'm excited. When is your podcast? When is it going to be out? I
haven't started it, but I am planning to start it by the end of September. Persia's actually going to come on and host with me, the first one anyway.
Amazing.
And then we'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. I can see it and feel it. I think that it would be incredible. Can you let everybody know where can they find you and your magnificent work?
Just best to do my Instagram because that's where everything is really. So it's at the Jules Cameron. And there's also a link to my jewellery website on there. And yeah, that's where you'll see all my silliness, really.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It was great to meet the real you. I wasn't sure who you were without the amethyst stuck to your forehead. So.
Tell you what, that leaves a mark. That really leaves a mark, that thing.
And I look forward to seeing you in and around London and on the web space and all of that good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Thank you for listening to Infinite Receiving with me, Susie Ashworth. I'd love to share with you my Infinite Receiving activation audio. Go to susieashworth.com/activate infinite receiving.